Firstly, add a cylinder and reduce the vertices to, let's say, 20. Dividing 360 by 20 gives 18, so remember the number 18. In edit mode, select this edge loop, scale it up, and move upwards. Select all except one face and delete them. Top view and change pivot to 3D cursor. Duplicate the face, then rotate on the Z-axis to 18 degrees. Press Shift-R to repeat multiple times and complete the circle. Now add a solidify modifier and reduce the thickness to extrude the faces without any clipping. Then add a bevel modifier and reduce the amount's value. Right-click Shade Smooth. To reduce the distance between these blocks, increase the offset value on the solidify modifier. Then apply all the modifiers. Now, select this face and this face too, and extrude upwards. Change the pivot point to individual origins and reset scale to 0 on the Z-axis. Select these two faces and also these two faces, then subdivide. Right-click Loop Tools, Circle. Make sure you enabled the Loop Tools add-in from the preferences. Delete the faces, select both edge loops, right-click and bridge edge loops. Do the same thing on this side. You can change the shading to see the edges clearly. Select these two edges and bevel them. Add a circle, move it downwards and fill the face in edit mode. For the handle, add a circle, move it up and rotate to 90 degrees. Adjust the scale and position. Select only the bottom vertices, delete them. Then extrude on the X-axis and also inwards. Shade smooth and move it to the correct position. Now adjust this edge and cut this face with the knife tool. Subdivide, insert Loop Tools, Circle. Extrude again and scale this section up. Adjust the position of these faces. To make this symmetric, wireframe mode and select the other side. Delete, select the good side, change pivot to cursor, which is found at the center. Duplicate and scale to -1 on the Y axis, then select all and merge by distance. Now select this vertex and set origin to 3D cursor. Now you can rotate the handle correctly. Next, in the UV editing tab, select all and Smart UV Project. If there is too much space between the UVs, you can reduce it. Next, switch to the shading tab and let's bake an ambient occlusion map. Add a new material for the bucket, then add an image node. Call the new texture AO for ambient occlusion, set size to 2K, and U-check alpha. Change this to non-color because it is not base color. Now go to cycles and reduce the max samples. Go to bake and select ambient occlusion. Make sure you selected the bucket and the AO image. Then bake. This is the baked AO. It defines the shading of the bucket. See the difference with and without the ambient occlusion. Now for the wooden texture, add a noise node and connect it to a color ramp, then to the base color. Add a mapping node, connect it, and then add a texture coordinate node and connect object to vector. Reduce the roughness for crispy texture and change this color to brown. For the other color, copy the same but make it darker, then move to the right. Reduce the Z scale to make it look like wooden texture and adjust the colors in the scale to your liking. Slightly increase the distortion. Now to bake this texture, add an image node and name it diffuse. Don't change the color space for the diffuse. Make sure it is selected, then change this to diffuse with no direct and indirect influence, then bake. This is the baked diffuse map for the wooden bucket. You can now delete all this and replace by this single image node. Now let's mix the AO and the diffuse. Connect this to a mix color node and make sure the diffuse ID on the input. Connect the AO to input B and the result to the base color. Change this to multiply and increase the factor to get all its effect. You can see the difference it makes. Next, select this circle and apply the same material. Switch to UV editing, press U to unwrap. Scale this down and move to a suitable position. Shift Z for material preview and adjust the position of the UV. I think this looks good. So now, select the handle and add a material with a light blue base color. You can also change the HDRI to clearly see what it looks like. Now you start adding the metallic rings. Add a circle and reduce the number of vertices. Scale it to be around the bucket and adjust its shape. Duplicate with Shift D and move upwards, adjust its scale. Shade smooth and add a solidify modifier. Adjust the thickness and apply the modifier. Now move to the shading tab and add a noise node, connected to a color ramp and then to the base color. Change this to a dark blue color, increase the metallic value and decrease the roughness. That's it. You can also bake this diffuse as I showed you for the bucket's diffuse. Now, you have this stylized wooden bucket, which you can also get from the link in the description. Subscribe for more, and watch this next video to know how to export to Unity with all the textures. See you next time.